I need some traction. You need some traction.
Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about getting enterprise traction. Maybe raise your hand and let me know if you have at least 5 enterprise customers at your startup. Okay. How about 250? Okay. Couple, 500? This guy, you should network with this guy. He has 500 customers at his company. He's going to be super useful. Keep check on whatever I say. So hopefully this is going to be very useful for all of you. Your first 5 customers are kind of like gods, right? They like bless you with all this information that you would probably never get. And I don't know who your god is. Steve Jobs is my god. I mean, he looks so godly in this picture. He's wonderful. Or they can be like that broken relationship that you have where you're still figuring out product market fit and the customer wants all these things and you may not be able to give them, but you still need them. You want that feedback. Kind of like this broken phone where no matter how broken it is, you still have to send that text. Scratch your thumbs. You're going to send that text. That's kind of how your first 5 customers are like. Or they're like Cuba Gooding Jr. from Jerry Maguire. Takes really a lot of effort to get them, right? It's like you lose all your other customers to get this one big deal. And it takes a lot to keep them. So their NPS is ADD, like going from -10 to 20 to -5 to 6. Your co-founder has them on speed dial. He's like, hey, Sean, what's wrong again? They're practically writing your product roadmap for the next 18 months. And that's what your first 5 customers will end up doing. And if you think that they bought your product because they had a need and they love your software, then that's flawed, right? Because you're just never going to have all the things they need at that time. The reason they bought your product is because they love your movement. They believe in what you can do for them. And the key for startups at this early stage is to think about what is your movement? What is it that you're pushing beyond a product or service? When I started at Box, it was in 2009. I was employee number 50. During my 2+ hours of interview with the CEO, Aaron Levy, after 2 hours, I was like, get my question in. And I was like, so why'd you start Box? And I thought I was being like really clever. And I thought the interview ended. But he went on to say, like, I just want business users to collaborate on the cloud. Like, why is that so difficult? And then, like, for 20 minutes, he rambled about, like, that is so annoying, it's so bad, and it's just like the world is falling apart. And it made me realize that he didn't care about being an entrepreneur. He didn't care about being a technology leader. He didn't care about, like, the next billion-dollar company. He just wanted to solve this collaborating in the cloud use case. So again, really important to think about your movement. This is when he had tons of hair before the IPO, obviously. And we certainly don't need a room full of movements, right? We don't need 700 movements. You can definitely join others who are already in the same cause, right? This was a video we did with 7 or 8 other companies talking about choosing cloud. This was in 2009, so a while back. And just know that your movement, when it starts getting boring, when you're like, oh my God, are we still talking about the cloud? That's when it's mainstream. That's when people are like beginning to understand. So you have to stick with your movement. You have to be patient with it. And it doesn't have to be something broad. It can be something that is a simple use case that you care about, that you deeply are passionate about. It has to be authentic. The other thing I would mention is you can't just put your movement or something you care about tucked away on your website in the About page and Mission page and kind of forget about it, right? You have to integrate that in every marketing execution. It has to be part of your story. So as an example, when the iPad launched in 2010, one of the first things we did is we created an iPad app, a Box for iPad app in like a month or so after the iPad launched. And one of the first things that Aaron came to us and he said, hey, so like marketing team, what are we going to do? And we were like, let's send a newsletter. And then he was like, after a few facial transitions later, he was like, this isn't just some moment in time for Apple. This is a moment in time for every single app developer who's trying to make users productive. You have to actually take this and leverage and do something bigger with this. And I think it hit us that, oh, these are the kind of things that we have to leverage to talk about our movement, because it is congruent with that. So what we did was we did a campaign. We said, hey, prospects, customers, tell us how you would collaborate on the cloud using iPad. Tell us your stories. And we just launched a campaign. And within 15 days, we had 3,000 testimonials of companies telling us how and why they would collaborate on the cloud. We gave the winning team, this team over here, we gave them 10 iPads for their team for participating in this campaign. And again, overnight, we got so many testimonials. So you have to start thinking about integrating it in your execution. At BetterWorks, we have something very similar, and I'll talk a little bit about the BetterWorks story. Is one of the things I've noticed is with enterprise software, the minute you know, like your first 5 customers are like IT or CIO, marketers tend to just get a list and like just spam all CIOs in the world, right? It's like I'm going to send every CIO, I'm going to tell them how I'm going to make their data, how they're going to be heroes in their company. And CIOs get a ton of emails about that sort of message, right? So you really need to think hard about what is the trigger, right? You don't want to do some expensive spamming marketing that might actually have negative effect on your brand. So you think about what is it that will get someone to actually consider your product. So you have to identify your buyer's triggers, right? If you ask the Home Depot appliance guy, the guy who has appliance at Home Depot, what information do you need to be really successful at your job? He'll tell you, I want to know when that washer dryer breaks down. I want to get to that guy whose washer has broken down and sell them the product, right? So you need to understand that for your company. I'm currently at a company called BetterWorks. BetterWorks founded 2013. I joined about 2014 mid, and it's an OKR. I don't know, how many people know OKRs here? 1%. OK, OKRs is a goal framework known as objectives and key results. And everyone in the company has 3 objectives, and everyone in the company for each of those objectives have 3 to 5 key results, how they're going to measure their success. John Doerr, who's on our board, is a big proponent of OKR. He got OKR from Intel, took it to Google. Google still does OKRs, 40 to 40,000 employees, all of them do OKRs. And it's an interesting company because not only are the founders really passionate about this, the board is passionate about this. They're talking about this movement. So again, trying to build that team. So going back to triggers, one of the first things I did is when I joined BetterWorks. By the way, if you also want to know more about BetterWorks, I would encourage all of you to go to the website, buy the product, 50 licenses probably. It's end of the quarter, so it'll be great if you do that. I put lead source traction, so marketing gets credit, and that would be great. But when I joined at BetterWorks, one of our customers, Alex Garden, and that's Jason Lemkin, by the way. I don't know if you know. He's a SaaS expert. He's also on our board. And one of the things I asked Alex, what was the reason you called BetterWorks? What tipped you? And his response to me was I just feel like 25% of the companies not focused, working on something else. I just want them to be focused, set big goals, get engaged, get aligned, and just I want to build a legacy where we beat the quarter. I was like, great. That became my campaign. So I didn't have to think hard about what sort of stories, how to find these triggers. You just ask your customers and sort of run with the ideas that you get from your customers. So we've talked a lot about message and movement, scaling. We've heard lots of things around scaling today. There's great presentations earlier in the day around scaling and metrics and things of that nature. I think earlier in the startup cycle, you're kind of challenged with a few things, right? You're challenged with the amount of engineering work, and you're challenged with how much friction can you create for your customer, right? There's a degree of customer experience that's at play. So earlier on, you can probably get away with a demo where you come to the site, you request a demo, the rep does a demo, and then no trial. You just straight up buy the product. And that's not quite the obvious ideal case. People do like to try stuff. So the next thing you can do is, OK, we can create a sandbox or a gated trial where you have an account that has some data, but it doesn't roll over into a full account, or you can do a trial, but it's, you have to talk to a rep first, so it's not quite self-serve. Or you can do self-service trials where you come in and it's like this beautiful experience, or you can do freemium. And freemium is not for everyone. And while it sounds extremely glamorous to like come in and do your whole self-serve experience, it also has a lot of engineering overhead. And remember, this engineering team is still working on that 15 to 20-month roadmap that your first 5 customers already wrote up for you. So it's not like they're sitting around with lots of projects to look for. Gated trials with Sandbox is perfect with sales. Because the way enterprise cycle works today is you're going to have it's what I call the diva framework. You have your decision maker, then you have your influencer, then you have a few value add buyers, then you have the approver. There's usually a team of people that you're selling to for an enterprise traction. So it's not going to be straightforward like, OK, let's just click and buy the product. Right? So, think about what to do. And it's perfect to work with your sales team. So again, think about how you want to scale your funnel. The last thing I kind of want to stress on is brand. And a lot of startup marketers, especially, and leaders, like all of you in the room, will focus on demand gen. And absolutely critical to have a good demand gen engine going with great metrics. But if you look at, there's Serious Decisions did a great study on this. And if you look at the scale, what you'll see is that as you go from SMB to enterprise, the marketing influence goes up. And marketing influence is, as marketing influence goes up, your marketing source goes down. So what that really means is your sales team is probably going to do more outbounding and sales on the direct enterprise side as you go upstream. Things that affect marketing influence are things that are sales accelerators, things that you do a field event where you help already people in the pipeline to come in and do a demo and show the vision. You do a lot of analyst activities. We were recently named one of the 6 breakout vendors by Forrester Research and in SaaS applications, and that took us about 2 years. We worked with the right analysts. We shared a vision. We took his feedback. We changed our vision. We shared our strategy. It takes time, and it's not obvious why you'd work with an analyst, but analysts are a great way to build an enterprise traction. When the C-suite executive from the Fortune 10, and we have 4 of the Fortune 20 customers as part of our portfolio, and when they have a question, they're going to call the analyst. So if you don't have the relationship going with the analyst, you're making yourself at risk. So one of the other things that help acceleration are field events, where you have, you go to different locations, you bring a customer speaker, and you let your audience talk to your customers, or things like big brand activities, right? Things like radio, things like big ads. And here are some examples you'll see. Slack did an ad campaign. That's their billboard in Cleveland, Ohio, where they showed their message was very, very straightforward. It was very benefit-focused and super, super specific. Again, great example of a billboard that works for them. Domo had done a content mobile advertising campaign. Elastic is a company that focuses on developer marketing. Really, really good example of a company that went on the field and did an event. Their events were so popular, they would put up the sign-up page and it would sell out within 20 minutes. That's how popular and how engaged the community was. So again, great advantage. And then there's plenty of examples. Gainsight does an event on Pulse that is completely different for the customer success community. Very little information about the product, but they focus a lot on the community. So there's a lot you can do on the big brand side. Again, it has to fit with what your business is and what your business proposition is. So in summary, make sure you market the movement, great in every execution. I just put this because I feel like I do this for my son. I just summarize everything, and it sometimes helps. To scale the funnel, and you have to think about the brand. And lastly, I would say the most important is not forget your team, because without having a good team in place, none of the other stuff matters. It's just going to be execution for the sake of execution, tactics for the sake of tactics. You won't get the creative idea. All of these people who work at BetterWorks aren't there because they love, they love to work for a startup. They're there because they love OKRs, they love goal setting, they're very passionate about it. And sometimes that's what it takes to work at a startup. So like, think about your team, make sure you hire the people that care a lot about your mission. That's it. Thank you.
I need some traction. You need some traction.